Hey guys, George from Diamond Yard Sports Cards coming at you here with another video. I want to talk about some vintage sports cards. Now that's pretty much what I collect is vintage, and I've been trying to collect vintage exclusively, but it's impossible because I can't look away from the great young players in the game. But at the same time, buying vintage cards has really become a bigger and bigger investment over the last couple years, especially in the last year. The economy's doing better and people are putting more money into vintage cards and the prices just keep going up and up. So what I'm seeing is the landscape's changing with vintage cards. People are really looking at it as a much greater long-term investment, and some have looked at this way for a long time. I've been collecting hardcore since I got back into it, maybe in like 05, 06. But I know that with the vintage market lately, I mean, you can see the Mickey Mantle cards are just going up and up and up. I watched the 65 Mantle in a 4, and it was a nice 4, like the nicest 4 you're going to see. But I watched the 65 Mantle in a 4 go for around $400, which is, that's pre-war prices, pre-war card collector prices, PWCC. But still, these cards are going up significantly, especially if they're nice and even in lower grades, like the Hank Aaron's, the Willie Mays, the Roberto Clemente's. Those cards and the Mantles obviously are going up because it's harder to find those these days. People are holding on to their well-centered, nice PSA 7 1960 Hank Aaron, and you don't see them come up much. So when you do see them come up, I try to take advantage of that. I try to make sure I can upgrade my collection, and sometimes even try to get a double if I can, if it's a nice card, because I know I can sell it. Because people are going to want these vintage cards, and more and more people are holding on to them. So I wanted to share a couple pickups I got with you. So let's go. Okay, so I picked up 3 cards here I wanted to go over with you. And the first one is a 19... nice. The first one is a 1957 Hank Aaron. My father-in-law and I were talking on Christmas, and I said to him, he grew up in the 50s, and I said to him, I'm going to show you a card here. What's wrong with this card? And so I pushed it over to him, and he says, well, Hank's batting left-handed. So we all know Hank Aaron, not all, but he knew immediately Hank Aaron was not a left-hander. Hank Aaron was a right-hander, of course, and you can see the 44 is backwards too. That's because this is a reverse negative, like the Juan Gonzalez rookie card back in the day, in the 80s when it was a rated rookie, or maybe that was the 1990 or 89 or 90 Donruss. But anyway, this Hank was really nice, and I had done a video before about I picked up a 3 and I picked up a 5, but I wanted to upgrade, and Probstein had this card on, and I just couldn't say no to it. It was just the centering is so good. It was so nice. The color was really good. So that's why I picked it up. Next card, the 1958 set is notorious for poor printing and print marks. And so I picked up this Willie Mays from a guy named Handsome F. And Handsome F always has really good stuff. And I could not believe how nice this Mays was. And I didn't have his 58 issue, and I really wanted to get it here. I mean, this was from the first year that they were out in San Francisco. You can see the bottom, San Fran Giants. 58, as many of you know, is the first year they moved out there. And it goes over his statistics there on the back. Real nice back. The red's nice and clear. There don't appear to be, there's not much paper loss or anything like that. But I couldn't get over the blue, how blue this card was, the centering on it, and there were really not many print marks. You get a lot of BS in advertising on these headlines on eBay, like, oh, it's well-centered, or this shows like a 7. And then you look at it and you're like, oh, yeah, right. But this thing, the guy said, this shows like a 7. Now, the corners are clearly 6 corners, but he said that the printing on it is well like a 7, and I agree. So I was fortunate to get this one. Next one is kind of a card I've been looking for a long time. I talked about Mantles. Talked about Mickey Mantle being difficult to get, and it's hard to get Mantle cards, especially the earlier stuff, or this one, in a reasonable price, or the right one. This is a 56 Mantle, as you all know, from his Triple Crown year. This one was a real nice, let's see here, if I can get some better light on it. But the centering on this thing is really nice. It's a 3.5. Back in the day, I was trying to pick up, a 3 or a 4 or a 5, and they were going for, a 5 was going for like $500-600, and I'm like, no way, I'm not spending that. I could buy, a Hank Aaron and an 8 for like, $300-400 of the same card. But this card just keeps going up, and now the 5s are around 1,000, and you got to find a nice one too. First of all, I mean, finding the nice card is the critical component here. You don't want to be spending a lot of money and get yourself an off center or a pretty bad example. You want to get a good example. So anyway, I was lucky to get this Mick. It's from his Triple Crown year, like I said. This is the gray back. The white back is a lot more rare. You rarely see that. Well, it's not that rare, but it's significantly rarer than this gray back. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching. And any comments are appreciated. Love the conversation on eBay, and I always try to respond to everybody who makes a comment. So, again, thanks for watching, and keep collecting.